Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hi, Glenn. I'm good, thanks, and you?
Excellent. Alex, please introduce yourself and tell us what sports you do.
Sure. Okay. My name is Alexander Tafur. I am a South African national fencer. So yeah, I do the sport of fencing. It's essentially chess with swords, which is great. But yeah, it's combines the mental like problem solving aspect with the physical execution, and yeah, it's that's the sport I love.
Alex, one question that I had, and a lot of people have this question,
Mm.
they always ask, does it hurt when you get jabbed, thrusted with a sword point?
So 90% of the time, no. I feel like just as you start out, you'll get a few bruises, but we have so much protection. It's very thick, and like it's designed to protect us. So in general, no, we don't really get hurt. You'll get a few bruises every now and again. Maybe sometimes you'll get like a pick up a small scar, but I mean that's really nothing serious.
What is your stress response when it does happen, when it does hurt, when it bruises, when it is scarring? Does that uh, center you and focus you more in about, or do you get rattled?
Okay, so it depends on like what exactly, like how, what the kind of pain is. So I mean, I've been hit on the funny bone quite a few times, and that's like one of the worst experiences. So like you'll have to like ask the ref, can we just pause for like a minute? Just give me some time just to quickly get the feeding back on my arm, and that kind of zones you out. But I mean, if you get like like it's a hard hit and it can kind of fire you up if that makes sense. It fires you up, gets you in the zone. Like forces you to like realize this is a competition. We're fighting, well, not fighting to death, but we got to have that kind of mentality. So yeah, it can fire you up.
Alex, I want to change the subject a bit. You
Hmm.
got selected, well, you got entry to Harvard
Yes.
University. Will you tell us about the experience? Were you surprised? What was your response first time
Hmm.
opening the letter and going email and going, wow, I got the entry? What are your experiences
Sure.
thoughts on that?
So I applied to Harvard. Um, Obviously, I mean, I wanted to. It was the best university in the world, but also like I just had a lot of support from my teachers, and they just said, give it a shot. And so I only applied to Harvard. It was the only American university I applied to, and I decided, we'll just see what happens, all or nothing. And to be honest, I was not expecting it at all. In like I remember clearly the day that I got the letter of acceptance. I was opening up with a few of my other friends who also applied to US universities, and they'd already opened up their letters. And I mean, unfortunately, they didn't get into their desired universities. And so when I opened up mine and I looked and it said like, congratulations, you have been accepted. I was incredibly shocked. And then like I mentioned to all my friends I got in, and they were shocked as well because and they told me this afterwards. Like we knew that you had a chance. We didn't really think it was going to happen, so we were very happy it did. um, so even then, like it was a surprise to me. But I guess I did all the right things. I had the academics and the fencing and the extracurriculars. So I guess I mean it. I'm proud of myself for having the credentials to get in. Not expecting it, but proud that I did get in. So
Just to stay on that course, uh, I know that you were one of the best, if not the best student
yeah.
at St. John's, and coach a lot of teenagers whose parents say, this is insane. My child is having so much work volume and staying on top of it and being the best in their sport is very difficult. What message do you have? What is your daily routine? How do you
Yeah.
manage the work volume?
Okay, so yeah, so I was the best student at St. John's. We were like there were three of us that were like combined the top three academics, and we all kind of had different things going on in our lives. I was the one who had the sport, the one who had his music, etc. Um, so I would say at least with me, I my daily routine is very flexible. I don't really like it when people try and have a organized hour by hour timetable for every day. Just because when you're at school and like now when I'm going into university, your day like varies so much because you don't know what to expect. Sometimes there'll be a surprise assignment. Sometimes there'll be a surprise deadline. Sometimes you forget that you had to do something or you have to go to the shops quickly or run an errand. And so like it can be it can be surprising, and so you need that variability in your structure. So I would say the most important thing for me was just prioritizing, knowing what I had to do that day or that week. What are my priorities for that day and that week, and then maybe shifting it, moving things around for the next week when I tick some things off the list. In general, though, I would like if I was like back, last year in matric, um, I would wake up normal time. Luckily, I live close to the school, so I didn't have to wake up too early. Go to school, finish that, and then immediately when I got home, I remember clearly, like when I had a session with you at like 4 p.m., I'd be home by 2 p.m. Okay, so have my lunch quickly, then use that time to study, knowing that I would have the time with you to kind of let my mind relax and escape from the studies, if that makes sense. And then after I finish my session with you, come back, study a bit more, and then if I had fencing, do that kind of thing. So I feel like what was important for me was determining how can I let myself like take a break from my studies, and realizing that my sessions with you, my training sessions with fencing, and then even just like talks with friends, even if it's half an hour on a phone, like those kind of breaks will allow me to escape. And I just needed to be aware of that and not kind of procrastinate during the time that I did have to study.
There's a few things that I want to just
Sure,
a little bit dig into.
sure.
First of all, as you mentioned, so basically being flexible with your
Yes.
schedule, understanding the priorities and tackling those. And then what I want to dig into is when you say that you have 2 hours to study, and this is
Mm-hmm.
something that I
Mm-hmm.
got from parents quite a lot. Okay, the child's got 2 hours to study, but um, how do you center? How do you like switch off everything? And when I say not just physically, Instagram and whatever social
Mm-hmm.
media, but center your mind and just instantly go, okay, I'm in on this, and I'm getting through the work volume without any distraction that might be even going on in my mind.
Sure. So okay, it was two things I would say. The first thing is that a lot of the time we get distracted, and it's hard to focus when you like have time to study because you didn't actually take the time needed to fully immerse yourself in that kind of break that you give yourself when you're not studying, if that makes sense. So I mean, I remember my old maths teacher actually told me and another friend of mine who was also kind of like a high achiever in quite a few different aspects, and he told us like when you are doing something that's not studying and you're like training or playing, listening to music even, or talking with your friends, just let yourself like forget about the studies, just immerse yourself in that experience, let your mind have that break, and then in that way, at least when it was time to study, you felt as refreshed as you could be. And then the second thing is that people like I would say have this a lot of people have this like misconception that you can like force yourself to study for 2 hours straight if you just like turn off your cell phone, like just move away all distractions, you can force yourself. I don't believe that. I feel like there's only so long that the human mind can actually concentrate on a said topic. And so if you can like take the time, like break things up, what I would usually do is like I'll study for like maybe half an hour and then allow myself a 5 minute break. Then half an hour again, 5 minute break, half an hour again, 5 minute break. That kind of allows you to pace yourself, and it's one of those things where if you study for 2 hours, your concentration will go from here to here very quickly. But if you study for only like half an hour with small breaks in between, something like that, then you can go. You'll dip, but then you'll break, and then you're back where you started. And so it's that kind of persistence, and you end up. That's how I ended up being able to study for quite a long time on end.
Is this something that you actively thought about it? Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
excluding the part from your teacher and giving the
Mm-hmm.
advice, this last part, or is it something that was innate, or did you have that
Mm-hmm.
step back and go, okay, this is the best strategy to do, or just pure
Sure.
observance of what your nature is, and going, okay, well, that's what I'm doing, and I can step back
Mm-hmm.
and observe it and communicate it in words.
Sure. So I mean, I feel like like maybe let's say in grade 8 when I entered high school, that's when like the content really started getting heavier, and I had to like figure out how best I study. And I mean, as an innate thing that I was already doing, I would kind of study a section, finish the section, and that would generally take me, like half an hour, so that kind of roughly. And then what would happen is I would feel that I need to take a short break, like do something else. So I'll do it, and then I'll find that I don't want to keep on doing it for too long because I need to study. I'll have that kind of like alarm bell in my head that I need to get back to studying. So I was kind of doing that thing already where I would study for like half an hour, that kind of time, that kind of thing, take a break, and then realize, okay, I need to get back. And I mean, then I would hear from all my friends that, they would study, they would like force themselves to study for like, 2 hours straight. And I was like, okay, that seems to make more sense than what I was doing. So I tried giving it a shot and did not work for me. I just became mentally exhausted, and I just wasn't able to like comprehend the information that I needed to in that time period. And so I went back to what I was initially doing, refined it, and that's just what worked for me. And I feel like that's actually what would work for a lot of people. I mean, I've looked at quite a few videos and articles about the best studying techniques, and that generally there's a variety of few, each to their own. But I mean, that's the one I would promote.
You mentioned something I want to ask you about
Mm-hmm.
it. Your friends who have like 2 hours to
Mm-hmm.
study and they force themselves to do it, and that didn't work for you,
Mm-hmm.
it might have worked for them. And I get this feeling from what you said that you're very much emotion based in your study.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you work out a lot of excitement towards the topic subject that you're studying? Is that where the passion comes from, the fact that you want to learn something and not be okay, I'm doing it because I just want to be the best. I really enjoy it, want it, and I want to get the most out of it.
Yeah, it's a fair question. I would say it depends, because there'll be some subjects like science and biology, and I'll be honest, like I loved it, and I loved like engaging with new topics, and just it that was exciting for me. Um, but then there were other subjects, which I won't name, but there were other subjects where I was just like, I can't. Like, this is, I really wish I could not be bothered with this. This is really boring. And so, in general, a lot of the time, no, I was not excited to study. Didn't like it. But I knew that I had a goal, which was, okay, I need to do well because I have not just to achieve the mark. It wasn't just about the marks for me. It was, I think, like it's a personal satisfaction where I had a task at hand, and I just have this thing personally where I need to fulfill the task to the best of my ability. I hate leaving tasks undone half-heartedly, like done half-heartedly, and so that was just my kind of sense. Um, and so yeah, it sometimes, yes, I would be excited to study, but in more of the time it was just a drive. It was just a drive that I need to get this done, or else I will not be happy with myself when I go to bed. That kind of thing. It's just like I go into things wholeheartedly because that's just what I put my mind to.
Yeah, that's excellent, Alex. Talking about that drive, that that beautifully transitions to
Hmm.
the sports,
Yes.
because obviously in sports you have that drive and obviously the love towards fencing,
Yes.
right, works hand in hand
Hmm.
together, and you want to achieve um, the most out of it and get that gold, get the recognition, get the
Hmm.
national colors, be one of the top in the world. And we talked about it.
Yeah.
I asked you that question where you want to take it. So now that you're going to Harvard and you've
Hmm.
done a lot of research, you know that there's Harvard's fencing
Yes.
team. You're going to be continuing. I
Hmm.
know that. Will you tell us a little bit more about it? You're going to be
Sure.
changing the environment. There's going to be different people. What have you made any research to who the fences are?
Hmm.
Um, what their level is in America?
Hmm.
Have you reached out to them? What is your thinking and strategy going
Sure.
into the fencing, Harvard's
Sure.
fencing?
So one of the reasons I chose Harvard, besides being one of the best academically, is that they have like arguably the best fencing team in the US. Um, so that also means, however, that like their fencers currently on the team, even the first years, are incredible. Like their level, I have to say, are like right now is much higher than I'm at. And I mean, that's something I'm willing to admit. I, I still believe that I can get to that level, and I really do. So I did put on my application that I want to be on the team. I want to compete, and the coach did reach out to me. So we have corresponded emails, and I will be trying out for the team. Obviously, it's up to the coaches whether they think I have a place on the team or if I'm just a training partner. They'll decide. But no, my plan is that I do want to get on the team, whether in my first year or in the later years. And even if I can't get on a team officially, like, or if I'm just a reserve, my plan would then be to find neighboring clubs and just compete in regional competitions where I can compete as an independent. Um, I have spoken to there's this fencer, Jesse Njeka. He is one of the best fencers, if not the best fencer at Cleveland State University. And it's also a very good university in fencing. And so, yeah, he's there, and he's been there for like the last 4 years. He's doing his master's now. And so I've spoken with him. What's the environment like? What's it like? What do I need to do? What can I expect? And he just told me that the culture is very demanding. People are there to fight. It's like it's a passion, and it's a life. It's a lifestyle fencing there. Um, and so I will need to put in a lot of work if I want to see results and if I want to achieve things. And I'm happy to do that. And he just said, yeah, it might be a bit overwhelming at first, but if I put my mind to it, I'll be fine. And because he was also at a similar level to me in fencing when he left. Um, and so yeah, and then there's also fortunately like there'll be I know a South African coach also in the Boston area in fencing, who he moved there not too long ago, so maybe I can join his club, that kind of thing. But yes, no, I want to get on the team eventually.
So just to ask a specific question, when we're digging and looking into what it takes to be in a team,
Hmm.
obviously it's competition based in your points. Can you
Yes.
explain a little bit more about that? What do they have a base requirement? Uh, what points you need to have to get in a team? And obviously there is an expectation of having more as you join the team and doing better in the competition.
Yeah.
So, what are the expectations entering, and what are the expectations staying in the team
Sure.
with fencing team?
So I mean, I don't really think they're like strict guidelines. I don't think it's one of those things where like if you have this certain number of points that came in this position, you're automatically in the team. But I think it's more just a thing of like they look at your overall accomplishments, your overall like how you've done ranking wise in variety of competitions, and they assess, okay, you seem to be quite consistent and consistently high performing, so you can get on the team, that kind of thing. And so
Mentality.
that kind of mentality. And I mean, I know that for example there'll be some fences that uh, will be very good. In one competition they might even win, but they still won't be on the team or like compete on the team as often as somebody else who maybe didn't do as well in that competition, purely because that fencer in general just has a much more consistent and a much uh, broader, like, what's the word, resume, if that makes sense. And they're just, yeah, in that sense. So it's about, I think consistency is honestly the most important thing. um, and I also know that I think it has something to do with, do they see, can they help you towards like fulfilling a certain mission, if that makes sense. So now with the Olympics happening, what I can see a lot on like the Harvard Instagram page is like they're promoting a lot about the fact, we can make Olympians, like Olympians are made here. And it's true, like they have, I think, already 4 or 5, something like that, Olympian fencers, and like from Harvard going to represent the USA. And so even if I can do that kind of thing where I tell them, look, I'm from South Africa, I can therefore I can qualify as an African athlete just like Harry did, Harry Sainer, and I can that kind of thing, whether individually or as a team, I can make that happen. I can qualify for the Olympics too. Maybe they'll take me on like that as well.
Right. So, just to recap something that the audiences don't know, when
Mm-hmm.
we originally spoke, your that was 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
more or less. Um, I asked you the question: what is your goal with fencing? How far would you like to go? And I think at that time, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously things change from month to month,
Yeah.
let alone 2 years. I was like top 17, and I can see now going to Harvard fencing, being part of Harvard University. There's a certain mentality which you already
Yeah.
have, and the thought is already like, okay, there is a structure there to get into to work towards qualifying for Olympics. How far would you like to take this? How what is your achievement goal at this point,
Hmm.
and how much it's changed from when we first met?
Sure. So, look, qualifying for the Olympics obviously is the main goal, but it's also the highest goal. And unfortunately, just because of the nature of qualifying for the Olympics, like as a fencer, it's very difficult. Like even some of the top European fencers that like have won I don't know how many world championship medals, even some of them haven't qualified just because of how structured and how like how difficult the system is. So, um, like if I had the opportunity to qualify for the Olympics, 100% I'll take it. To get there, I would need to be the number one national, at least a number one or like top one of the top national athletes in the country, and I do think I can get to that level. Unfortunately, I'll only be able to make only a certain number of national competitions since I will be in the US. But I will try and make an effort to get a ranking slowly but surely, a national ranking, and build a top one. But I think just also besides that, I mean, to qualify for the Olympics, you can also take the international route, where being one of the best internationally ranked African fencers, and in order to do well internationally, you need to know how to fence a variety of fences and like keep your nerve under that pressure of fencing people you've never fenced before. In South Africa, we fence the same people over and over and over again, maybe one or two new faces every now and then, but we get very comfortable with each other. And then we go internationally and then we get slightly surprised. Like we get a bit shocked and like when we fence someone we've never seen before with a completely different style. So what I would try to do is just get as much experience as I can while I'm in the US that offers those kinds of opportunities. So going to the regional competitions, those national competitions, and then every now and again going to that international competition that I can get into, whether that's a competition in like Canada or somewhere in the US or in South America, somewhere in that region of the world, and also like there's next year there's the World University Games, and I know like a few of my club mates have gone for that competition before, and it'll be next year in Germany. So if I can get qualify for that, which is the plan, like the most like the closest goal for me, if I can get into that and just qualify and represent South Africa at those games, I feel like that would be the next best step for me to just start preparing me to eventually reach that goal of qualifying for the Olympics.
So just to recap with the answer,
Hmm.
it's what makes it great. It's what makes it
Hmm.
easy, difficult as well, and the fact that you have it's a massive country.
Yeah.
America is a massive country. There are a lot of competitors, they're high level, proven themselves in Olympics, in
Hmm.
World Grand Prix, and so forth. Um, so you're getting the opportunity of having to fence them, so that's a bonus.
Hmm.
But there's also a difficulty because these are top guys, and you're fencing against some of the best fences in the world.
Yeah.
So it's both a difficulty and opportunity at the same time.
Yes.
Where in South Africa, there's fewer fences, you're used to each other, you have more opportunity to be on top because it's not so much competition. But at the same time, the moment you meet the guys overseas, Europe,
Yeah.
America, Asia, then you're a bit of a trouble.
Hmm.
That's basically in a
That's
nutshell
basically the gist. Yes.
what I'm
Yes.
getting from this.
That is the summary. Yeah, it's just one of those things where like uh, South African fencing is just at a point right now where we can get to that level, but we need to put in a lot more investment into it, and not just financially, but just like mentality wise, how we approach things. And I'd like to say that we can get there, and maybe one day we will. Uh, but like, yeah, I'm very happy that we do have a qualified athlete for the Olympics now. It does inspire me. and it will inspire a lot of people. But I'm also hoping that I can use the opportunities I get in the US that I don't have here to kind of help me get on my way.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Alex, thank you very
Thank you.
much. I think this is great. I think it's going to inspire a lot of people, both in academics and fencing. I think the audiences will enjoy the message that you have, that what you have achieved so far, and things yet to come.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Thank you
Wish you
very
all
much.
the best.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.